Hello guys, welcome to Udacity Front-End Development Nano Degree. My name is Muhammad Allam and I am your mentor for this FEND program. In today's video, I will give you a quick overview of front-end development and I hope it will be quite useful and clear as I meant it to be. As a beginner developer, like I was once, you may have some difficulties to understand the whole paradigm of a website or a web application. You may have some basic web development knowledge, some HTML and CSS basics. You may be familiar with some JavaScript code, but you find it hard to put all the pieces of the puzzle together. So, the good news is, you will have it all together by the end of this nano degree, I hope. Let's start first thing first. This video is not a part of your nano degree. It's just me, your mentor, trying to help. In this video, I will discuss briefly 3 points. Number 1. What is going under the hood while surfing the internet? 2. How does a browser work with JavaScript? 3. Some useful tips for beginner front-end developers. So, no more waste of time, let's dive in. What is happening under the hood while surfing the internet? As an average user, you don't have to know about this, but as a developer, it's a very important concept to grasp. When you open a browser on your machine, which called the client side, you need to have access to the internet, which is provided by big organizations called internet service providers. Once you have the internet access and you are ready to go, you have to use the browser address bar to put what's called a URL, which stands for Universal Resource Locator. That means a system allows internet server to find files they like to serve on another machine through an internet connection. The server is not a big deal, as it is just a computer with more physical resources than your personal computer. And it carries the files of a website or a web application which you called by a specific URL. The last piece of this puzzle is HTTP, which stands for Hypertext Transfer Protocol, and it may be secured. Protocol means a kind of agreement between the client side and the server side to speak in the same language and have a stable communication. So, once you enter the URL, a request for some data is sent through the internet to the server. Contains these files for this specific website we are looking for. The server will send what's called a response. The response is nothing but sending the requested file to your client side. These files are HTML, CSS, and JavaScript files. How the browser works with JavaScript? Before we go further, we have to take a quick look at the browser itself. The browser is a piece of software responsible to represent or visualize the data coming from the server. So, what is the main components of a web browser? The first component is the UI, or the user interface, which means the visual part the user can communicate with. The second component is the rendering engine, which is an independent piece of software with the ability to process or parse the HTML and CSS files. The second component is a JavaScript engine or interpreter, which is another independent piece of software responsible for processing and parsing the JavaScript files. At last, any browser needs a way to store data for future use on your client side, in what's called cookies and local storage. Now, let's discuss the whole process, starting with the server-side response. The HTML and CSS files are going to be parsed by the rendering engine. The process of parsing is the first stage of rendering, and it ends with building what's called the DOM tree and the CSS OM tree. Don't worry, we will discuss it thoroughly in the next slide. The second stage, called the render tree stage, in which the combination of the two previously mentioned trees occurs. In the third stage, which called layout stage, geometric computation is done to calculate the position of each node. Finally, the paint stage is here, and everything is visually seen on the browser user interface. So, what is DOM? DOM stands for Document Object Model, which is a programming interface for HTML documents. It's not very clear, is it? Let's clarify a little. The HTML document we use as the basic component of any website is found on the server side, as we mentioned before. But once it's sent to the client side and browser parses it, a visual representation of the same document is shown in the browser, providing an access to change or manipulate the document using programming language like JavaScript. Now, we can take a look at the DOM tree, which is a tree structure of HTML elements, starting with the main HTML element and descend to the two main major elements, the head element and the body element, and their own child elements. Similar to the DOM tree is the CSS OM tree, but for element attributes like color, size, etc. Don't be worried if you have any queries, because this will be discussed in details in your nanodegree program. Now, it's the time to some tips for beginner developers. No one can master everything, so it's fine to know something and doesn't know another thing. Don't be ashamed. Web tools are built to help you. Don't feel obligated to use any of them. Even a lot of developers do so. Find the right tool for yourself. Resources are all over the internet. Learn how to find and use them for your advantage. Developers are also resources. Don't waste any chance to communicate with your mates. As humans, we can't know everything. So, if you like a specific technology, nothing wrong with being a specialist. Learn it more and more until you become a professional. Development is all about building software. So, why the rigidity? If you try a code which didn't work, write it again from scratch. Nothing wrong with that. One step leads you nowhere. So, try to move forward, even with small steps, but never stop. If you ask yourself to code or to live, some developers may feel consumed in programming and have no social life. If you are smart enough, try to code anything you already have passion about, and you will feel great. Finally, I hope you find some answers for your questions as beginner developers in this video. Don't be hesitated to ask me about anything at any time. I will be here for all of you. I wish you a magnificent journey learning front-end development with Udacity nanodegree. See you soon.